Hey guys, yeah, so I'm catching up a little bit here, so just bear with me. For this next review, I'm reviewing The Goldfinch, okay, by Donna Tartt. Now, I'm a little bit mixed about this, so give me a second. Let me get my thoughts together. Okay, so let's just talk about my history with Donna Tartt. So, I read The Secret History. Now, that I think is her first book. She's had three, not that many books, three or four. This one, The Goldfinch, won the Pulitzer Prize 2014, I believe. And but I haven't read them. I've only read The Secret History and this book by her. So, and this book is much longer. It was twice as long. It's about 1,000 pages long, and it took me a while. And that's kind of one of the cons about this book, but it depends. It depends what kind of reader you are. Now, she uses beautiful language. I need to have either my phone next to me or my laptop next to me the whole way because some of the vocabulary here is insane, and the imagery is beautiful. And I'm sure if I were to read it again, I would catch 200 more things that I didn't catch the first time. And if I read it again, I'll be another 200. It's just so dense with this book. It's obvious there are layers to the book and the meaning of things that just went over my head because there's a lot to do about architecture, furniture, art things in general, especially paintings, and those things. I can appreciate the imagery, the way she describes images. Like as a writer, you have to describe an image, and that's not just something vague or abstract like an emotion, which usually it's supposed to be harder to do those things, but to be able to describe a painting that exists in the world and to convey it with just words is also an art in itself. And she is able to do that not just with the paintings, but also with the real life situation of the main character in this book. I forgot his name. Give me a second. Theo Decker. Okay, so let's go into the synopsis a little bit. Theo Decker starts with him as a young boy. One day he kind of gets in trouble with his mom. That they stop by an art museum. Something happens in this art museum. A terrorist attack. A terrorist attack happens where they're at this art museum, and his mother dies along with a lot of other people. But he survives. And while a lot of paintings were destroyed, Theo runs away with this painting without letting anybody know. And the painting is the Goldfinch painting, which I think is a real painting. Yeah, it's definitely a real painting. But anyways, in this fictionalized world, he now has to live. He first starts out has to live with his dad, and then things happen there, which I don't want to spoil anything. And then he starts to live with another man who becomes his father figure and starts to work for him. And he grows older, I should say. And he also has a friend who's Russian, and they get separated for a while, and they meet up again in the future. And this leads to a whole other set of events, and it kind of turns very dark very quickly. And it's also, while all of this is going on, he's also struggling with his love life. He loves one girl who was also a survivor of the incidents in the beginning of his life, but stuck with another girl because of his best friend's sister. It's his best friend's sister, and a whole other thing goes on there. So this is, like I said, 1,000 pages, very very dense book. Beautiful prose. The line between prose and poetry is always blurred by Donna Tartt. She's just an amazing writer. It's the way it is. She has it. Now, some writers have it. Some writers don't have it, and they don't become successful. And most writers, I should say. And then there are also some writers who work at their craft, and they're maybe they're not the best prose writers or writers, but they're storytellers. So it translates into the book. In book form, just because of the story itself is great, not necessarily because of the words. So The Goldfinch, I prefer The Secret History by Donna Tartt. It's a little bit simpler, and it doesn't go into psychology as much, and it's more of it's more of a thriller. Yeah, it's more of a conventional thriller, but this book, I understand why it won the Pulitzer Prize. I have to read the other book that she wrote. But this book, it goes deep within tortured soul It hits all the notes. It hits all the notes that you expect out of a masterpiece, which is also what limits it in a way, because it doesn't leave much room for interpretation. Everything is explained, everything is intricate, and even when in some parts things are over-explained, because basically throughout the whole period of Theo's life, he thinks one thing is going on until he realizes it's not. And coincidentally, he meets the one person who, the reason why his life turns out the way it is, just in the random bar in New York, right? And that part is kind of shady, like just a random meeting of someone coincidentally, and in a different place where they left each other, and there's no way they could have known they were there. It's one of those things where it doesn't. It's something that a TV show would do, or a bad movie would do, and that's one of the biggest criticism of this book. Is that coincidence that happens. Anyways, other than that, I mean, as language is 5 out of 5 for me for this book. But sorry, it's reviews all over the place. But this is my first reaction towards just finishing having to read this. And the language is beautiful. Character development is beautiful, but logistically, with the story, is not as strong as her previous, The Secret History. I don't know about her second book, and also there's that one part where basically the third act of the book. I mean, not that this book has 3 acts, but the whole ending of the book depends on this one singular moment where he reconnects with one person from his past, which is kind of random, but substantial to the rest of the story, right? The main part of the story. So I would recommend it. I want to say it depends. You better be a fast reader, or you won't get through this book very fast, and you might give up on it. So just because of that, I'm going to take it down some points, and because of that coincidence thing, maybe it'll happen. Maybe it would happen to him eventually, but it just doesn't sit well with me. Other than that, it's very great. I want to say 3.5, which, I wouldn't give it a 3.5 if it wasn't Donna Tartt, because I believe that The Secret History was an amazing book, and one of my favorite novels. I would give that a 4.5 at least. So, high standard for Donna Tartt to me, especially it's labeled Pulitzer Prize winner. And it didn't live up to that standard, I think, when I read this book. I think they kind of gave that to her for all of her works collectively, so they had to give it to her. But for this book, but still, I think maybe if I reread it, maybe 20 years from now, maybe I would think differently about it. Yeah, that's my review of the Goldfinch. Sorry about my blabbering, but if you're thinking about reading it, make sure you set aside a couple months. If you're into beautiful prose, just skills with writing, just technical stuff, amazing. If you want to get into Donna Tartt, in her thriller mode, in her just character, as in like getting into the minds of really messed up people, but innocent people at the same time, Secret History is the book for you. If you want to get into maybe something more centralized towards one person, one singular person trying to overcome struggles with, losing family, loss of innocence, more conventional stuff with a twist, this Goldfinch is the book for you. So, anyways, let me know what you think. Maybe if you've read this book. So, yeah, take it easy, guys.